So awesome. This is always a pleasure to interview Robert Smith. And what we're going to talk about is how to forgive and really let go of past hurts. And I think that he is the most powerful person in my life for changing and knowing how to forgive. So I'm Tammy Magnuson. I'm one of Robert's prized students, right, Robert?
Yeah, right. Prize student in Idaho, right?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yeah, one of those places.
Yeah. And so today, I'll share a little bit of how much of an impact it made for me going through a divorce and having a really difficult time dealing with child custody in 2011 was when I first found about you. And I was in such a deep depression. And I had said I wanted to forgive my ex, my husband, and I had thought I did. And then all these sensations and feelings would come up whenever I saw him. And it would be so easy to explode and so easy to be miserable and to be so sad. And the way that you describe forgiveness and how it works inside of our brain just set me free. So welcome, everyone. I hope this is as powerful for you as it is for me today. Thank you for joining us, Robert. So how does it work in the brain? How does forgiveness actually work? Because if we can't just say it and it happens, right. What do we need to do?
Well, to understand how the mind works, the mental mechanics, what is forgiveness really? I mean, really, what is it? And why do we think we want to forgive somebody? Well, let's say you and we have experiences with somebody, whoever it is. And as you experience that, what happens is the limbic operating system will take this information and it'll start recording it and storing it across the cortices of the mind. And so therefore, this is information in your brain. So what you may have a picture or an image or a movie, sounds inside your head that's recorded. All right. And then when you have an experience like a divorce, I mean, it could be a trauma. These are traumatic experiences, hurts, angers, rejections, abandonments, and they're all written on the cells of the mind. Now, of course, you may go to, some training or something, and they say, you just need to forgive your husband. And then you'll say, okay, I forgive my husband. I forgive you, I release you. But the problem is that doesn't solve your problem because, it's like someone said, I will forgive them, but I'll never forget.
Exactly.
And that never forgetting is because it's written on the cells of your mind. And you're the one who's now holding the memories and experiences and all this stuff. So, when I talk about forgiveness, it's like somebody said, well, they went to an AA meeting and one of the steps is make peace with the other people that you've, had a problem with. And so, so then they'll go and they say, I want to apologize for stealing your pen and punch you in the face. And they said, you didn't do that to me. I don't remember it. So then who was holding this against themselves? The person who said, or they go and they said, hey, I want to ask forgiveness for stealing your pen and punch you in the face. He said, go screw yourself. I hate you. I hope you die a miserable death. Now, what are you going to do? So who's still holding this and now amplifying it? It is a novel idea to tell someone that you forgive them, and that's good on you. But the deal is, if you don't change what I would consider ultimate forgiveness is actually going inside your brain, inside your memories, inside your data, and changing those from within inside yourself. I know that there are a lot of Christians who watch us, and they said, well, how many times should I forgive my neighbor? And I said 7 times 70. That means you always forgive them. That means you release it forever. You don't keep it inside you. And of course, Jesus said something like, if your eyes cause you to stumble, pluck it out. He's not talking about eyeballs. He's talking about those memories that you're holding against yourself. Like somebody said, those who hold the hot coals of anger and unforgiveness get burnt. And so you're holding on to unforgiveness for someone. It's like you're drinking the poison and you're thinking they're going to die. Exactly. So the point that we're coming back to with my trainings and understandings is that mentally or mechanically inside the mind, when you visit a memory, whether it's a good memory and or a bad memory, you have to understand that this is about 6 or 7 pounds worth of data. Your brain is only that size, but it's the information written on the cells of the mind. Everything inside you is you. That means, like, if you have a memory of your father yelling at you, or your husband abusing you, or your wife abusing you, you're holding that on within you. You watched it, and now you got the Memorex inside your head, and you think that what's in your head is real.
That's one of your most powerful quotes. Say it again, that everything inside you
is yourself. Every person, every action, every memory, every voice, every sound, every sensation is you. And see, the unforgiveness is saying, I won't forgive you for what I carry within me. They're not saying, but see, they don't see that they're doing it to themselves. They still think they are still doing it to them. That means when I have clients, and you have clients, and they said, my father screwed my life up. And I said, where is he? He said, he's been dead for 10 years. So why are you still screwed up? Because you're the one screwing yourself up by replaying, recalling, rehearsing, and using the memory of experiences that aren't true anymore. They're gone.
And guys, this might sound really harsh, but it is the only way to empower yourself. All right. You're not going to empower yourself by blaming your father who's passed away, or his father, or his father. Like, they all have these excuses. But if we know how to change it inside of our own mind, then we can empower ourselves to truly get free of that person, right? So, and I remember when I all of a sudden realized, like, oh my goodness, like, these experiences happened, and then people believed something about themselves, and it changed who they thought they were, instead of just having it be an experience, and it doesn't impact the way you still treat others, and all of these things that come out when we hold that negative, the hurts and pains inside.
Well, see, the weird thing is that, what I say all the time says, learn to love yourself, like yourself from within yourself, because what you hold within you, you'll do to you, and you do to other people. And if you think about it logically, hurt people hurt others, and they justify what they do. So if you're holding on to unforgiveness, bad memories, bad experiences, this is your poison. And you will inadvertently, unconsciously, will pass this behavior, belief system, and attitude to children that's in your life. You'll impact your current relationships, or you impact others who may have the same name or the same look or the same certain behavior, because you're going to project from the poison that you have within you, and also project on others. So learning to love yourself and like yourself within yourself is to keep, I call the brain, memories of the brain is a temple. It's the sacred holy place. That means your job as a janitor is to keep your mind clean. Now, we're not talking about tucking it away and hide it behind rocks, or painting a wall and put the memory behind it, because it's still there. You literally have to update your memories to where you can't make it bother you. Because again, remember, you're trying to hold on to a past of what happened, and it torments you, and it affects everyone in your radar. But when you let go of how you represent, now the brain is very simple, really. It captures information, records it, and stores it in the brain. And then we say, let's go to the past and clean this up, and say, listen, I don't want to go to the past. I don't want to deal with the past. I'm here now. I said, that's good. And they said, why would I even want to go back and clean up the past? I said, well, because the past drives the bus when you're not paying attention. All right. So that means
the past drives the bus when you're not paying attention.
Exactly. And that's usually when the shit hits the fan, and you're angry and you're upset and you've got so much stress, your unconscious just kicks in and it acts from the bad stuff. And I said, well, listen, let's be honest about it. You're writing these notes on the piece of paper. As you write these notes on a piece of paper, you're not going back in your mind to kindergarten and remembering how to write the letters. You're not doing that. You unconsciously, inadvertently, naturally start to write, and it's because of your past. Now, again, if you go to the past and you pluck out or re-update and change the bad memories, those bad memories don't control your behaviors. And if you don't change them, they still show up.
That's where the power is. That's where the power is, guys. I just, we both want you to feel so worthy and so loved and so valuable that you treasure yourself enough to deal with what's going on in your mind. And so will you say that one more time?
I don't know what I said.
That when you go back and clean it up, now you can
You said yourself
react.
free. Yeah. And see, another thing that people don't realize, the past doesn't exist. It's over. It's gone. You can't change the past. But
Right.
what your brain has captured, its version and distorted version of the past, and it's written on the cortices of your mind, and it makes it feel real today.
Yeah.
So again, if you change the memory, and that's what somebody said, well, I'm a realist, Robert. I
I
operate from
was
reality.
too.
I said,
was too.
really?
I'm like, no.
I said, you're not a realist, you're a pacifist, because you're using your past as reality today. Today is different than the past, but you keep holding on to it. And of course, people are really scared. They really are scared of what's inside themselves, because it seems real, it feels real, but it's not real. But the brain captured it and makes it feel real here, and it makes us go crazy and do crazy things to ourselves and to others. And you know, as one of my number one teachers says, you'll love your neighbor as you love yourself. You'll not forgive your husband as you don't forgive yourself.
Exactly.
You will not forgive your sister-in-law or whoever it is that hurt you as you don't forgive you, because who is carrying the emotional pain and torch? It's you.
Us. Yeah.
And you could lock you in a padded room and you could be happy, or you could be miserable, and you're the culprit of both systems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so many people just don't know how. Like, it's,
yeah.
Once this is explained to you, I hope that you reach out to Robert or reach out to myself to really, if this is so curious and you're starting to say, like, that makes sense, like, that's logical, and you just don't know, like, now what to do. What would you say are some of the first steps?
Well, I mean, the first thing is to do is, you know, we've heard it through many teachers in the world: know thyself. Know how you work within yourself. Yeah. That means you got to know how your brain works. You got to know how you do this to you. You got to know how the mechanics of the mind. Because if you know, like if you have I don't know, like you have this camera here, or you have this camera and there's something wrong with it. If I give it to you and say, go fix it. So it means you got to take it apart, put it back together. You can't do that. You know why? You have no training. Right. And a lot of people who have zero training in how the mind actually works, and they're using things or some weirdness or trying to do lip service to solve it, it doesn't work. So the first thing you want to do is learn how to be in control of yourself. Learn how to update the memories inside yourself. You know, again, this is mental mechanics. And one of the worst problems that I see in our world is that they don't forgive themselves. And they hold the memories and experiences against themselves. Yeah. And it reminds me of a young woman. I say young, she probably was in her 30s or 40s at the time. She'd been doing sessions with me, and one day her friend came with her at the session. So she was in the session, and her friend goes, do the big one, do the big one. And she starts crying. I said, no, I can't do the big one. It's too big. I said, listen, you don't have to tell me what it is. I can still help you with it. Right. And so within 10 minutes or so, the big one wasn't big. And basically the story is that she held this against her, this pain, this guilt, this anger towards herself. And that is, she got pregnant at 16 years old. And at 17, they put her in a mother's unwed home, and she gave birth to a baby girl. And from that point forward, her life was really horrible. And it still followed her up until the day that we met. So I cleaned this up, and we didn't take very long to change and adjust this memory to where it's positive. And then the next session she came in, she was smiling ear to ear. Yeah. She says, you will not believe this. I said, what? She says, my baby girl's been looking for me. I'm moving. I'm going to Louisiana because she's getting ready to have a baby. I'm going to be a grandma. So had she not forgiven herself, had I even encouraged her, or a friend pushed her, and I helped her, she would still be suffering in her own emotional misery. And that's what we do with what happened to us, whether it's by our fathers or our mothers, strangers, teachers, priests, rabbis, whoever it is. If you carry the memory inside you, that's the noose that hangs yourself. It shows up today. It shows up today, guys. It really does. Yeah. It's the most powerful thing to know that the brain is so fast, like the subconscious is so fast, it goes back and grabs a memory before you know it. Yeah. And now you're in that same trance. It just triggers you like that, you know, like for example, if I say dog, I say, think of dog, and all of a sudden your mind immediately goes to its imprint, which is your dog experiences. And if you feel good with the experiences, because you have good memories. If you have bad dog experiences, you'll have bad feelings. This is how the brain naturally does it. It's so fast. And, we have a pair of amygdalae in your brain there. And what they do is they're like relays, they're like, I call them the dual librarians. And they've had 50 cups of coffee, so they're on the super fast. And so what they do is I say dog, it'll take dog and it'll go back into the database, grab dog memories and pop it back up. And I say dog with a red collar, so it'll go back in his mind. And all of a sudden it starts putting all this stuff together. And it also does the same thing when you have a bad experience. The brain, these guys are spreading out through all the cortices of the mind, the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, motor cortex, etc. All of this is being recorded so quick that we don't even realize that we created a problem without knowing later, and then the problem shows up in a bizarre way. And so this is the knowing how to drive this. The smartest part about you is not what you're thinking with right now. The smartest part about you is the limbic operating system, or the unconscious system. It's the system that does all the work, and it produces anger and unforgiveness and rejections based on what's recorded. And so the brain naturally changes memories anyway. It'll change it with your focus or whatever. It can make a good memory and turn it bad, or take a bad memory and turn it worse. I was invited to a birthday party for Stephanie, and this big, tall German guy, and he introduced himself and I introduced myself. He says, what do you do for a living? I says, I'm a neuroplastician, a behavioral engineer, and I help people change bad memories. He goes, you can't change memories. I said, you can't, I can. Right? And then later on, we're sitting at the dinner table, we ate dinner, and he started talking about an experience when he was 15 years old. And this experience was, he said, well, I was 15 years old, I'm in Germany, and I saw a guy ride a motorcycle, got his head decapitated. Don't make up pictures, guys.
Yeah.
and then I said, I'm just very curious. As you recall the memory inside your mind, what exactly are you seeing? He says, well, I see me, and I see it happen in front of me. I said, so it's almost like it's on a movie screen and you're watching it from the theater seat.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. I said, look at me. Now, when you look at me, what do you see? Do you see you looking at me, or you actually just see me? He says, I see you.
Right.
I said, I don't know if you really discovered this, but the memory has started to adjust itself. And then, of course, I said, when you look at the memory, is it in color? Is it black and white? He says, it's grayish. I said, was it at night? He goes, no, it was in midday. I said, listen, the brain has already started diffusing the color within the memory. Therefore, the emotional intensity is less. He goes, I'll think about this. Now, here's something interesting, guys. If you do not know how to adjust you and the memories within you, you'll be a slave to whatever bad experiences you had.
Say that again. If you do not know
how to change what you hold within you, you'll be a slave with what was recorded within you.
Absolutely.
So that means, modern psychology, which is insight therapy, and of course their model is to go in and discover why you had the problem. All right. So they said, if you understand why, maybe it'll go away. There's a lot of people who spend 20, 30 years in therapy. They know every reason why, but they're still jacked up.
Yeah.
Because that
and worse, right?
Yeah. Sometimes
practicing it.
Yeah, sometimes they go to therapists and they feel like they want to kill themselves. They get opened up and no changes occur.
Right.
And but again, insight therapy doesn't change problems. The neuroplasticity of the mind has a natural way to change it. And God put it in there, the creator put it in there. But if you don't know how to use it, you don't know how to use it. And that's what I did, is I discovered what we call the universal pattern of creation / belief. And that is because how the brain naturally manifests healing, no healing, unforgiveness, and forgiveness. And ultimate forgiveness is adjusting yourself to set you free. Because if you go to your brother and you say, please forgive me for what I did, and they said, screw you, I hate you. Now, what are you going to do?
You're going to feel worse.
Yeah, you'll start beating yourself up and blame yourself and said, you know what? He has the right to be miserable, just like you do.
That's right.
So again, there's no judgment to either one. Both of them are designed to keep you alive and safe. So it's just sometimes one of them is going to make you fester to death, So
in misery, right?
In misery, yeah. And then it's almost like our unforgiveness is a bucket of dung that we're painting everyone we go along in our world.
Oh, exactly. I pictured that. Stop it. But it's true, because if we're seeing them through our own filter of
Yep.
yucky past mess, hurt, pain,
Yep.
then how are we going to be feeling? How are we going to respond?
Yeah.
It's not going to be from who we genuinely want to be, right?
Yeah. And let me just say this, a number one problem that people say they don't want to forget or forgive because, one, if I forgive them, they're off scot-free.
Right.
And I said, hold on. So you're holding resentment or revenge against someone else, and yet it's all inside you. So,
Mhm.
you know, that somebody said, those who seek revenge must dig two graves, one for you and
Right.
one for them. So again, if you forgive them, it doesn't set them free. They still got their misery, except you don't. You set you free. All right, now another weird
Perfect.
question. People will say, well, if I forgive, that means I'll be vulnerable and it'll happen again. I said, that's not true. What you try to do is forgive bad people consciously, and then you recycle the same pain experience again because you didn't change the written information on your brain. Once you change the information on the brain, you develop personal power, you will not put up with it, and you will not follow the same pattern you have within your mind. So you take a bad memory and you update it to where you're wiser, smarter, and you can't find the bad experience because you've got it to be your best experience. And,
Yeah.
and believe it or not, most people don't realize your number one enemy, your number one anger, your number one pain, your number one emotional trauma is your healer if you make peace with it within yourself. Then
Yeah.
it becomes a badge of honor. You know, my father, my stepfather, he's my father. I was the only one I ever known. He had a lot of anger and he was abusive. And of course, I didn't like my father. You know, when he got killed in that car accident, my Uncle Roger's knocked on the door, said, your dad died in a car accident. I said, shit, it was too easy for him. He needed to suffer a little bit more. I was very angry at him, but I had to make peace with this part of me,
Yes.
not my dad. I had to make peace with this. And once I did, it set me free. It allowed me to love. It allowed me to understand. So my number one spiritual healer was my father, because what he gave me is what he had within him. And when I set myself free from it, that means I become a better person. Now
Because of him, right?
I've had a lot of interesting experience in the business world with clients and practitioners and the opposing people. And like what my, Sandra, she'd say, my wife, she's my wife. I don't know, most people don't know that, but what she said, she goes, well, Robert, I don't see you get angry with them. I said, why would I want to feed that? Why would I want to invest in that? Do
No.
not do that. Send them love, send them peace, tap on whatever my meaning of it is, and then I become free. So that's the key. So it's really about learning to love yourself, like yourself from within yourself. And if you're going to invest in something, you look at that investment, whether it's anger, you look at that investment. If the anger gets really big, how big and what would it do to my life? What the damage could be. Or if you look at forgiveness and not taking it so personal, because people have problems.
Right.
People do weird things over love, sex, and money that you thought you were friends, but then you just had to let them go because everybody has the right to do what they think, and everyone has a right to dig their own grave. So I'm not digging a grave. I'm building friendship and love and kindness and don't hold any resentment, because if you do, it only hurts you. So again, it's what I'm teaching is personal resilience, learning how to release the past, accept the good ones, keep all the good ones, and then build on top more of the good ones. So unforgiveness, ultimate unforgiveness is keeping your mental temple clean,
Yeah. And it is the way to manifest.
Oh yeah. Oh,
right.
yeah.
When people talk about manifesting, this is the way to manifest good things into your life, is to hold good things in your mind, in your head.
Absolutely.
Updating them so they're all good.
You just think about logically. I had a woman who come to my office. Well, actually, she had trouble coming to the office. She called me and she said she had agoraphobia. And of course, I have no idea what agoraphobia is at the time. It's just a word.
Come to the office.
I said, I can help you that. It's a fear. And she said, I said, why don't we just book a sessions Tuesday or Thursday at 5? She says, I can't. I said, why not? I have agoraphobia. I said, well, just bring it with you. I'll help you with it. And so, of course, she said, no, 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 I can't leave my home. I said, well, how am I going to help you? At that time, I didn't really do a lot of phone sessions. So anyway, her husband threw a blanket over her, brought her to the office. And in the office, I want you to listen to how she created this horrible fear of leaving her home. It is a success, by the way, but it's not a good one. So I said, okay, so you have a fear of leaving the home. When did it start? She said, well, do you remember when Murrah bombing occurred in Oklahoma City, when all the people were killed? So what she did, she invested her emotional time watching this stuff. She invested in replaying and staying up all night, and it's generating what you call a fear. So she's not focusing on happy memories or pleasant memories. She's focused on death and innocent people being attacked. And then next thing was the 9/11. So guess what? She's spending hours and hours watching this stuff. And she's creating a neural network of a great experience of being horrified of leaving her home. So again, did she successfully create this problem? Absolutely. Is she broken? No. She just had it on the wrong channel, and she spent too much time thinking about it. And of course, I'm very clever and I'm very smart and know how to change these things. And again, it took one session to clean this stuff out. And of course, when her husband calls, she goes, my wife is not home anymore. I said, what's she doing? She's going to churches and she's going shopping. And I'm very bothered that I don't get to see her much because she's been so locked up at home.
Oh,
So it's just interesting how unforgiveness is a form of self-torment.
yes.
Unforgiveness is holding on to regrets and blaming stuff and tormenting ourselves with it, fantasizing about it. And again, remember, we're a manifester. So if you investing in watching bad stuff, you get more bad stuff. If you invest in releasing the bad stuff first, because remember, if you try to do positive and you got a big pile of bad stuff, this bad stuff will overshadow that because it's stronger emotionally. So you got to diffuse the bad stuff, and then you practice what you want. And just like with yourself, your relationship with your husband is a totally different relationship than all the others because you've invested in it and you healed yourself and he tapped on yourself. And then your children are healthier because of you, because of your investments. Right. And that's what people need, is to invest in themselves and to change how they hold and represent the past.
That's a great idea to think about. I love talking about our lives as a legacy because, you talk about your grandparents and your great grandparents if they've been involved in your life. And do you want to leave the legacy of a person that was unforgiven, had unforgiveness and revenge and hurt inside of them? Or do you want to leave the legacy of a person that they knew how to love and be kind and be thoughtful because you did it,
or to be controlled by anger and fear,
right.
and unforgiveness and having all kinds of anxieties. And that's not a life to live. But you're doing the best you can with your current knowledge and understandings, but there is hope, honestly. Discovering how to change and update yourself is the goal plan, like Jesus said, physicians, heal yourself. He's talking to you. You need to heal yourself. It's an action plan. Forgive 7 times 70. If you have memories in your mind, pluck it out. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, if your eyes are light, your body's light. If your eyes are dark, your body's dark, and how great the darkness is. Yeah. And what he's saying is that what you see, what you focus on affects how you feel. Whether it's good stuff, feels good, bad stuff, feels dark. So again, it's all about investments. But if you're sitting around worrying about, how bad your day is going to be, and you worry about walking the streets for fear of that you're going to see your father, your in-laws, or whatever it is, this is a noose around your neck, and you're the one who's the hangman.
Right.
Set yourself free.
Exactly. So you would say forgive and forget, and we have a tool and a plan to do that, right?
I say forgiveness is rewriting everything.
That's right. Forgive and make it better.
Yeah, rewrite it to where it's different, where it's a great gift.
Right.
Yeah.
Forgive and make it a great gift.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I knew this was going to be one of my favorite interviews because it's one of my the thing that made the most impact for me physically, relationally, like mentally. It just is the whole thing that really helped me become free of doing what I was doing in my head over and over and over, trying to protect myself and just being bound and locked. And
And it's based
Anxiety
on
and pain.
it's based on your pain. You ever had a knee pain, which was the left knee or right knee? Which one was
Left
it?
knee.
Left knee. All right, so here you had the knee pain,
Mhm.
and you're gonna have to go have surgery. And then
Yeah.
you started tapping on whatever it was that you were tapping on, whether it's about yourself or other people.
Mhm.
The pain went away, and you didn't have to have surgery.
Right.
It's okay to move forward in your life once you release the pain.
Exactly. And you don't even know how much emotional pain is actually driving it until the emotional pain's gone. And then you're like, oh, so
Yeah,
I
like,
just want to invite all of you to try this work. Like if you have, and I know that you do, because every person I work with has it, right, Robert? They all have
oh,
the
everybody.
unforgiveness piece in their life. And so it will make the biggest impact. I'll post the link below for Robert's free 5-day course. He
Mhm.
offers a lot of free things, and just following him on YouTube.
We have
is
a couple
great.
of grief and loss courses there too, and
Mhm.
grief and loss is unforgiveness too. I don't know if you realize that. It's and of course you're still playing the story in your mind. So there's so many, and illnesses. Illnesses had a lot of grief and loss, a lot of
Yeah.
unforgiveness, and it's almost like my whole life changed because I had an accident, or my whole life changed because my dog died, or my parents died, and that's unforgiveness that you're holding.
Mhm.
I mean, and how many times I've had that said, I can't believe God didn't warn me. I thought we were
Mhm.
close. I said, well, listen, you got to forgive God too, and yourself, what you're holding against God too.
Yeah,
So again, it's about you. It's not about anyone else.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So I hope this brought so much value to all of you, and we love your comments. You can ask questions, and we just appreciate all of the work that you brought for us, Robert, to be able to fully know true forgiveness it's the best thing ever.
Forgiving yourself, changing memories, neuroplasticity of the mind, update yourself is true forgiveness. And now just remember, forgiveness, ultimate forgiveness is changing every unpleasant memory inside you for all the reasons you thought you need to forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
Changing all the memories inside you.
Yeah.
For the reasons you thought you needed to forgive them. It sets you free.
Sets you free. Awesome. Well, thank you again. And we appreciate everyone joining us, and have a wonderful day.
See you. Thank you.